This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk. Sports Talk Media Network coming to you from all across the state tonight. I'm up at Little John Coliseum. Got another big basketball game tonight, I tell you. Great week for basketball in our state. Of course, Tuesday you had North Carolina up here playing Clemson. You had Kentucky in Columbia playing the Gamecocks. Tonight you've got Clemson playing Duke. So let's see. Tuesday night you had the all-time winningest team in college basketball in Kentucky in Columbia. And you had number 3, North Carolina, here at Clemson. Tonight, it's number 4, Duke, here to play Clemson. It's very unusual to have this kind of basketball royalty come through our state in a week. And you got a very good Notre Dame team coming to Clemson on Saturday. Can the Tigers bounce back from that heartbreaking, disappointing loss of the other night, 2-point loss to North Carolina, against a Duke team they played to a 2-point game and had a chance to win at Cameron Indoor back in January, a Duke team coming off an equally disappointing home loss to Virginia the other night. So two teams feeling like they got stung the last time out. They'll be hungry to try and win a ball game here tonight. Already, they've opened up Little John. There was a women's game here earlier this afternoon, and I guess they just left Little John open. They also put out to students that I guess X number of 100 students who attended the women's game would get really good seats for this Duke game. So we're 2 hours away from tip, and there's a couple of hundred Clemson students, if not more, already in place, many sitting in the student section behind one of the baskets, the basket to my left. And then you've got other students taking up some prime seats behind the 2 benches. So, well, no, not behind the benches, I guess behind the floor seating on one side. The benches would be on the opposite side. So the Clemson fans are trying to do a little bit of the Cameron Crazies. Maybe they are the Little John Loonies tonight, and they're here early. The students are. Now, the regular fans aren't here yet. It's still a couple hours away, so they've got time. But the students are already in place. They're going to have a nice long night ahead of them. They don't care. They're students. What does it mean to them? Meantime, back in Columbia, Pat Daniels pulling everything together. And we go to the other end of the state over in Conway at the HTC Center. Cliff Ellis is back on the bench for Coastal Carolina. And there to tell everybody all about it will be our own Chris Bergen. Good evening, Bergen.
Hello, Phil. The Little John Loonies, huh? I like that. I really do. And I'm curious tonight as well, since this will be Mike Krzyzewski's last trip into Little John, what kind of presentation, if there is one, that Clemson provides him for his final visit and what he's sort of meant to not just the ACC or college basketball, but what type of reception do you anticipate Clemson fans giving him, since he's basically given them a hard time since he's been at Duke throughout his career?
I think he'll get a better reception. I'm just guessing here. I think he'll get a better reception from this crowd than he got from the Tar Heel crowd the other night.
Sure,
a sidebar to that game was the nastiness of the Tar Heel fans toward Krzyzewski, the profanity thrown at him, the boos, the finger, shall we say, pointing, maybe up, not at him, but up in the air, shall we say, things like that. But that's to be expected in that rivalry. Clemson has always treated retiring opposing coaches with a lot of class and a lot of respect. I've seen them present them with various and sundry presents, outgoing presents, things like that, going away presents. Sometimes it was a rocking chair, for example. If it was an older coach, I think they might have given Dean Smith like a rocking chair or something. I don't know. I would think, knowing the class of the Clemson basketball program, the class of Brad Brownell, the way they do things here normally, I would imagine they'd have a pregame. If Krzyzewski is willing, he might not be of that mindset. I don't know. If he's willing, I don't know what he's done at other stops around the ACC if he's allowed the other team to honor him with some sort of pregame announcement, presentation, etc. So we'll have to wait and see. If allowed, I would think Clemson would do something. What they would give him, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. What would you give? What do you give the college basketball coach who has everything?
Maybe a piece of the floor. One of the rims at Little John is as many games as he's won in there. You've got to give him some sort of memento that would make it different than all the other schools. It's got to be, he'd have to have something with a tiger paw on it, wouldn't he? I think a little piece of the Little John floor, maybe that they don't use anymore, with the tiger paw on it, might be nice to commemorate his career.
I know what you give him. An autographed 8x10 glossy of Dabo Swinney. How about that? Huh?
The way college coaches are, would he even know who Dabo Swinney is? You know how locked in they are on their particular sport or their team. Will Mike Krzyzewski even recognize who that guy is? Yeah. And also, as a bonus, I think a 30-minute Dabo Swinney video on how to coach a team, how to raise a family, how to make, millions of dollars as he has done. Maybe they'll share a video like that with him. We'll see what happens. I would think that they would do something, but we'll see. Krzyzewski came out at North Carolina. His head was pointed straight ahead. Of course, he doesn't come out for pregame warm-ups, so that might be another thing. I mean, his deal is to stay in the locker room until the very end and not come out on the floor until it's time to tip. So that could be another thing that would prevent any kind of a pregame acknowledgement. So we'll just have to wait and see. Back to the game, though, Chris, I really think that if you can go into Cameron and play these guys to a 2-point game, of course, one of the big reasons they played them close there was Hunter Tyson. They don't have him tonight, and so they're going to miss him. He played if I remember correctly, played a whale of a game there at Duke first time around. Very good player, and they miss him. They're a man short. Duke is, they played so well against North Carolina, but they could not solve Virginia. Virginia did a good job of keeping the scoring down the way Virginia can. I think if you're Clemson, you've got to really be out on Duke's three-point shooters. You can't let them get comfortable and get into a rhythm and start knocking down the big buckets. That opens up the game inside for them. Then again, you can't afford to really get into an up and down the floor kind of game with them. I don't know what Brownell is going to call defensively for this game, but I would certainly make sure I got hands on shooters and hands in the face of shooters outside. Well, in that first game between those two teams, Phil, Clemson hit 11 threes on the road. You would hope you could duplicate that kind of shooting at home and hope that Duke doesn't hit 10 threes, as you pointed out. At Hunter Tyson's absence, I think will be big in tonight's ball game. He was one of 3 double-digit scores in that first go-around at Cameron. Also, I think maybe they can draw upon the first meeting between these two. There was only about a 3-day separation between the last game that Clemson played and the Duke game. So quick turnarounds against the Blue Devils, not totally unusual for Clemson. And that quick turnaround, less than 48 hours, they are back at it tonight. How will their legs be? How much will they have in the tank? As Brad Brownell mentioned on Monday during the ACC media call, do we have enough to empty the tank tonight to give us a chance to win? I know we had some callers last night that disagree, but I thought Brad Brownell put them in a position to win against North Carolina back on Tuesday. How will he do it here tonight? He's going up against a legend coaching-wise, and I thought took him to the wire back up at Duke, but will he have enough in the tank tonight with a shortened bench with Hunter Tyson not available? I guess remains to be seen. You'd like to have a comfortable lead so you can get some guys some rest, knowing that you've got, as you pointed out, Notre Dame rolling into town on Saturday, and they may be playing as well as anybody right now in the ACC.
Absolutely. I mean, this was a week of what could be for Clemson, and that's what makes this middle game so important. You win this game, and, I mean, all of a sudden everything kind of starts feeling a little bit better, and then maybe you knock off Notre Dame. If you can have a 2-1 week against these 3 teams, even though your record still will not be great, those will be a couple of huge wins for you. Might turn things in your direction as you head down the stretch of the regular season and give you some momentum heading into these last games. They need something good to happen for them. This might be too tall a task for them tonight, and then you're really in a kind of a bad way going into that Notre Dame game on Saturday. What about the game you've got tonight? I mentioned Clef Ellis is back from his 4-game hiatus because of a COVID situation. Hope the coach is feeling better and ready to go tonight.
Yeah, actually just 3. It should have been 4, but we had the game at UT Arlington, of course, canceled last Thursday because of the sleet and snow out in North Texas. But I talked with Cliff a little bit earlier for a pregame on our broadcast, and he said he is still a little bit zapped in terms of energy, but he's excited about getting back out there. I don't think he realized until Tim Beret and other folks around the state pointed out to him that he had never missed a game before in his career, and it was somewhat of an NCAA record, the amount of games he had coached without missing a game. So I'm not sure he handled that all that well. You know how coaches are. They love to be hands-on. He was telling me that he had text messages that he could get directly to one of the assistants for Coastal just in case they needed it. But he also said he didn't want to babysit them too much. So he was trying to, go back and forth between fan and coach. But it should be an interesting one tonight. Georgia State comes in. They are 9-10 and 3-5. And Phil, this is a team that was predicted to win the Sun Belt. They are only 6 games out of first with 6 games left to go. So that's obviously not going to happen. They have not met expectations, but they've got a dynamic team and a team that can score when necessary, and they force turnovers. Coastal turned it over 20 times when these two teams met in Atlanta just a couple of weeks ago. Somehow the Chanticleers, even though they got out-rebounded and turned it over as many times as they did, they were able to pull out a win in overtime, one of the rare games that Coastal has been able to pull out in a relatively close fashion, because the loss this past Saturday at Texas State was the 8th single-digit loss for Coastal this season, and their 5th by 5 points or less. So you're looking at a team that conceivably could have, as many as 17 or 18 wins right now instead of sitting at 12-10. But a huge homestand about to unfold here tonight. They play 4 straight for their final 6 here inside the HTC Center. Plus, they get the return of Garrett Green, who has been out for undisclosed reasons over the last couple of weeks. He's back. Isaac Hippolyte, another forward who was injured last week during practice, he's back. So for the first time in, a month and a half, Coastal's got its entire complement of players and coaches. So I know they're looking forward to tipping this one off here at 7 o'clock.
All right, a couple of other quick notes before you have to depart to get ready for your game. Announced today that ESPN Basketball College Game Day is coming to Columbia. Not for the men, for the women, when they play host to Tennessee coming up soon. So that's kind of neat. And also today, South Carolina announced that the spring game, April 16th?
16th, yes.
Yeah. Going to be a night game, 7 o'clock, part of a big weekend of sports activities around the campus with a number of different sports in action, including baseball team hosting Ole Miss for a 3-game set that ends on that Saturday. And that's all cool. That's all great. Different from having it in the afternoon. It means the game will not be televised on the SEC Network main. It'll be only on the streaming SEC Network Plus. Don't know if that means a whole lot to anybody, if that's good, bad, indifferent. But also, we were talking about this off air. Don't know if they thought about this. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But that's also Easter weekend. So you got Easter morning coming up on that Sunday. It's also the Heritage weekend. I just wonder from a timing standpoint, having it at night, are you really going to help your attendance that way? Are they thinking more Gamecock fans will want to come to a spring? I know they like regular season games at night. How about a spring game at night? Meaning, if you live a pretty good distance away, you'll have to maybe stay in a hotel. Instead of having a day trip, it becomes an overnight trip. Then you've got Easter to figure in. And you've got, if you're a golf fan, a Heritage fan, you've got that to figure in. Just, some other things to think about with that decision to have that game at night.
And one other thing to keep in mind, Phil, when you talk about Gamecock fans love to have night games during the regular season, part of that is just necessity. You don't want to play a game in the middle of September at 12 noon. Not a lot of fun in South Carolina just after Labor Day with the heat. And you never know, April could be really, really nice or really rotten with the weather. So you're just kind of rolling the dice there. But I'm thinking night, it will provide a unique atmosphere, no doubt. I can't remember many spring games. Normally those kick off at 1 o'clock or noon. It's rare to see them kick off at night. I think that will be somewhat of a interesting scenario, and maybe that's what Shane Beamer wanted. Not as much to placate the fans who have also asked for this. Maybe it's as much just to get his team sort of in tune with night atmospheres and see how that goes. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, the other conflicts that you brought up, golf. I don't know if you're a golf fan. Are you really worried about the spring football for the Gamecocks? And Easter is probably the bigger of the two complaints that you might get from your fan base. But I think they'll probably still have a pretty good crowd, especially first opportunity for USC fans. I'm assuming to see Spencer Rattler. He'll participate in the spring, correct?
Oh yeah. He'll be practicing in the spring. Be your first chance to see him and some other newcomers to the Gamecock roster. One more thing, we'll let you go. Announced this afternoon by the SEC that each team's going to get $54.6 million from the SEC loot, $778.8 million in revenue. So each team, $54.6 million. And, you know, at the end of the day, if you're sitting in the president's seat at South Carolina or the AD's chair at South Carolina, and, yeah, you're getting your nose wiped in a number of different sports, you get that big check every spring. It kind of eases the pain of those losses and also helps you pay off a lot of coaches, too.
I was actually talking with some of the guys on press row about that when the news came out this afternoon, and we were just amazed at the amount of money the SEC is able to generate, especially still in somewhat of a COVID atmosphere where attendance is not what it once was, say, 2-3 years ago. And Phil, if anybody has to ask why Texas and OU wanted to move into the SEC, just look at the difference in revenue sharing between the Big 12 and the SEC. Those two schools, if they were in the SEC this year, would have gained about $20 more million than what they are going to get for the Big 12. It's pretty simple to figure out why schools want to move into the SEC. It has everything to do with dollars and cents.
And it's only going to get more. This year's amount was $120 million increase from 2019-2020. So it just continues to grow for the SEC. I think when South Carolina first joined back in 92, I mean, they might have been getting something in the teens, and now it's up to into the mid-50s. And when Texas, Oklahoma join and the new contracts are made, depending on what the state of college sports is at that time, the SEC might be its own professional league by then. You know, there was that organization representing college players has filed a lawsuit seeking that the athletes, the college athletes, now be recognized, treated as full employees of their schools. We'll see where that goes. But, I mean, that's a whole nother topic to discuss, different from NIL, because NIL money is not money being paid directly by the schools. Now, South Carolina is one of the two schools in the SEC that's going to be funding an additional $6,000 coming from that other lawsuit against the NCAA, and that's coming from them. And that's kind of tied into your academic status, assuming your academic status is good. But this organization, I think it's the National Collegiate Players Association, they're seeking full employment status for all the athletes, and they would be treated like employees, which means, I guess, you get W-2s, you file 1040s, you have your taxes taken out, you have a retirement plan. I think that's what they're looking for here, Chris.
Yeah, that's the interesting part, Phil. If they become state employees at, say, places like Clemson and South Carolina, they would also fall into that state retirement fund, which could be really interesting to see. And if you're going to get to that point, then let's get rid of scholarships altogether. I just don't see a need if they're going to be paid directly by the schools. If this ultimately happens with NIL money, also still, you would assume still a possibility for them to generate some extra income. And what's the point of giving these kids scholarship money? Because they're going to be making much more money than tuition and room and board would ever hamper the schools. So just get rid of the scholarships altogether at the major. And again, we're talking about big time, Power 5 major college athletics, not at the small level D2 schools. But at that level, I just don't see the need for athletic scholarships, perhaps as early as 3 years down the road.
Mm-hmm. It's moving quickly. This train is really picking up steam and moving quickly. Oh, by the way, we should mention the USC women playing tonight at Kentucky. Kentucky's struggling big time now in women's basketball, so barring a collapse, this should be another easy win for the USC women on the road. That's for me to say. Of course, they don't look at it that way. They look at every game as a struggle. But Kentucky has been down this year in women's basketball, so USC women play their game. They should be in good shape. They've had some time off to get ready for this one. All right, Chris, we're going to let you run and get ready for your broadcast. Thank you so much. Have a good call, and we'll be following online tonight, Coastal Carolina and Georgia State. You enjoy. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, Phil, sounds good. You and Pat have a good show tonight, and enjoy the basketball up at Little John. Should be a fun one. I'll be able to check out the majority of that on the ride home.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Yeah, some Duke players have come out to rousing boos from the Clemson students who are here. And we've got some Clemson players warming up as well. So some of the players have come out to get in some early shooting here. In the meantime, on our program tonight, Morgan on the move, a little bit after 7 o'clock. He'll have thoughts on everything about college basketball, college football. What was funny today, too, today was the day that the SEC head coaches all gathered in Birmingham for their annual meeting where they talk about things around the league, where they are informed about rules changes, things like that. They discuss it with the hierarchy there in the SEC. And maybe, I imagine, the head coaches, they get to touch those checks that each school gets. So I imagine that Shane Beamer got to hold that check for $54.6 million for just a few moments before Ray Tanner snatched it out of his hands. Which reminds me, I was talking with someone today. There's a Board of Trustee meeting coming up at South Carolina. Of course, they've got to approve the contract for the new tight end coach, Jody Wright. I'm wondering that the Board of Trustees is going to address Beamer's contract at that same meeting and raise him. What's he making, like 1.9 at this point in time? Lift him up some to make him a little more compatible with the rest of the SEC. We'll see what happens with that. But anyway, the big story, the paparazzi that covers Auburn and the SEC, they were all around the buildings, encircling the building on the lookout for Brian Harsin, just back from vacation. And now at the SEC meetings, the Auburn coach, of course, under fire, and strong reporting that there's no way he's going to survive as the Auburn coach. Yet he continues to act and behave and work as the Auburn coach. And I mean, the Auburn people let him go to Birmingham for today's meeting, yet they continue to let him just hang in the wind while they discuss what to do here. And part of it probably is his refusal to accept a buyout, which will be $18 million plus. And he wants to hang in there and continue as the coach at Auburn. But as this drags on, I mean, you can tell the direction that this is moving because you've got Auburn media finding all these negative stories about Brian Harsin. One of them dug up some old stories written about Harsin from his days, not just at Boise State, but at Arkansas State. And they were not complimentary stories of him. With all of this negativity out there about this guy, Pat, I wonder how in the world he got the Auburn job to begin with. This one story said he was about to be fired at Arkansas State when he was hired at Boise State. He had been an assistant at Boise State. And then another story was about how he was so disliked at Boise State and that when he left Boise this past season, Boise had a bad year, and they were blaming him for the bad recruiting and the state of the program, and that he was like a real jerk and all that at Boise State. How in the world did Auburn hire him?
You know, Corn, that's a great question. And I remember it being quite a head scratcher. I believe you and Smitty at the time were kind of trying to figure out how that whole scenario worked out, how Brian Harsin did end up from Boise, Idaho into the plains of Alabama. And, you know, the twists and turns this entire case just keeps taking, including this new employee duty to cooperate policy that Auburn just now adopted, which states that university employees must cooperate with any and all investigations or they can be terminated. Mm-hmm. The policy took effect February 8th, one day before Harsin returned from an out of the country vacation, and then a day ahead of him having to go to the SEC coaches conference. Just the timing of all this is just so strange, so many questions. It almost feels more like a soap opera at this point.
Oh, that's all it's been. It's all it's been. And just looking at some of the tweets today from the media there in Birmingham, I mean, they had encircled the building because there were two entrances to the building. And you saw video of some coaches going in an entrance at the front, and you saw video or pictures of two coaches going in this other entrance. Not necessarily a back entrance, but it was another side entrance, and that's where Harsin went in. He did not go in the main entrance in the front where most of the reporters were. He went in this other entrance, and they caught a picture of him going in. So they've been all over this meeting, and they've been keeping a close watch. But apparently at this hour, it's 5:30 in Alabama, 6:30 here. There's been no developments, no new news in that situation with Brian Harsin. Okay, we're going to hit a break here on Sports Talk. We'll come back with more. Don't go away. Sports Talk Media Network from Little John.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool this evening, a low dropping to 38. Now, if you like today, you'll love tomorrow. Sunny skies, a high temp all the way up to 71. Saturday, we get some clouds and sunshine mixed, the high is 72. The cold front arrives for Sunday. We'll get a high of 56 to go with mostly cloudy skies, a slight 20% chance of rain. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. Stocks slumped and bond yields moved sharply higher after a hot reading on inflation led to greater expectations that the Federal Reserve will have to move forcefully to cool down the economy by raising interest rates. The S&P 500 gave back 1.8% Thursday, and the yield on the 10-year Treasury jumped above 2% for the first time since the summer of 2019. That came after the government reported that consumer prices rose at an annual rate of 7.5% last month. That's the fastest pace since 1982. The big swings marked a return of the volatility that had shaken markets in recent weeks. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 526 points, the Nasdaq dropped 304, the S&P down 83, oil up to 89.88 a barrel. More details at srnnews.com. Now, who could that be?
It's Dominion Energy. I signed us up for a home energy checkup. It's time we learn how to save energy and money.
Well, how much does it cost?
Not a dime. It's free, and it only takes about an hour. Plus, we get a report on things we can do to make our home more energy efficient.
I don't know. Sounds too good to be true.
No. See for yourself at DominionEnergySC.com.
Where?
DominionEnergySC.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
If you're like me, you're sick and tired of seeing these old TV stars, game show hosts, these athletes telling you how to save money on your Medicare and on your health insurance. These national toll-free numbers are overwhelming us. It's not that people don't need the service. They need good local customer service, not big box toll-free numbers. See, I work directly with Tim Hanberry right here at Medicare Blueprint in the Midlands. When it comes to my family, I want the best family plan. I'm not even on Medicare, but my mom is. So here's what I do want. Someone local to serve as my advisor on the plans and choices that I have, and someone to help mom with her Medicare. I want someone to help me pick the right plan, save me as much money as possible by knowing all the rules of the game. Medicare Blueprint starts the process with you. They will see it through. They answer all your questions. They call you back. It's the same folks helping you start to finish. Tim and his team are independent. They fight for you, not the insurance company. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
Everyone knows that here at The Point, we are all about supporting local businesses. We are all about local, local, local. You cannot get more local than my friend Greg McCoy and his business, Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Fran Halloran here. If you're buying a home or you're looking to refinance your current home, you owe it to yourself to call Greg. He is the real deal. You can expect Greg to treat you like you are his only client. You can expect Greg to scour the market to find you the best rate available. You can expect Greg to charge you a fair price for his work and his service. Why would you deal with some national company headquartered in who knows where when you can do business with Greg? Need further persuasion? Okay, I didn't even mention the good Greg does in our community by supporting local charities like Blue Star Mothers and Camp Chemo. Come on, you need to call Greg. online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com, or you can call Greg at 803-722-6044. That's 722-6044.
Back we are from Little John Coliseum on this Thursday night. Phil Kornblut here. We have Pat Daniel back at our studio in Columbia. We can now take your phone calls. We are open at this point in time. Feel free to join us. 888-898-2525. That's the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number into Sports Talk. Since 2002, more than $999 million in lottery proceeds have been used to support K through 12 programs right here in South Carolina. Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at sceducation.com/education wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. Lines are now open, so we're more than happy to take your phone calls, hear what's on your mind tonight, as we've got time for that. Mike Morgan at 7:05. At 7:30, College of Charleston baseball coach Chad Holbrook joins us. We're 8 days away from the start of the college baseball season in South Carolina. We'll find out what the Cougars have in store for this year. Looking forward to hearing from Chad Holbrook, his thoughts on his team for this coming season and what they're going to be offering up to everybody. We'll have some recruiting notes for you as well, so stay tuned for that. Right now, though, lines are open. 888-898-2525. You want to join us? Poll question of the week is on the Super Bowl. What's your best play? With the Rams favored by 4, over under at 48.5. 42.5% of 153 votes are taking the Bengals plus the 4. 25.5% just going to play the over. 20.3% taking the Rams. 11.8% going to play the under. We will have tomorrow night a special edition of Lee Sterling, a Sterling pick tomorrow night on the Super Bowl props that he likes to talk about. He'll be with us tomorrow night here on Sports Talk. A few other notes as we check out the Founders Federal Credit Union Notebook. Remember, you can get a mortgage note for as low as 2.33% at Founders Federal Credit Union. Syracuse center Jesse Edwards has a fracture left wrist. Suffered that Tuesday night against BC. He's out rest of the season. P.J. Dozier is on the move again. Of course, today was the trading deadline for the NBA, and the Celtics dealt P.J. Dozier, the former Gamecock, and Bol, a future second-rounder, and cash to Orlando for a future second-round pick. Of course, Dozier and Bol are both out for the season due to injuries. This is being viewed as a cost-saving move for the Celtics. But Pat, P.J. Dozier, of course, he's done a nice job working his way into the NBA after playing in the G League. He had a nice little run there with the Nuggets for a while. Now he's kind of living that life of the journeyman NBA player. The good thing for him is he's still young to absorb all these moves and these trades. If he can just find that right place that needs a player of his talent, he might find a home one day.
That's exactly right. He has shown flashes throughout his career, in particular, at least in my opinion, his time in Denver. But ever since Boston and now his next destination, not OKC. His next destination, we'll just see what he can make of his career. I don't want to use the word resurrect because he's still so young that he's still trying to find his footing. He's been a decent shooter, but he needs to improve his three-point shot. He's only a 32% career shooter. And right now it seems like teams kind of view him in that 3-and-D mold that you've seen become so popular in the NBA in the last 5 or 10 years. But in order to be a 3-and-D guy, he already has the D. He's very good on the defensive end of the floor, but he needs to get closer to between 35 and 40% three-point shooter to ever be able to actually fit into a rotation on an NBA team.
Yeah, I would agree. Always helps in today's NBA to be able to shoot the outside shot. What else we have for you as we go through our notebook tonight? Ben Lippin, school in Columbia, named Bennett Weigel as their new head football coach. So he is on board there at Ben Lippin. I'll tell you a little bit about, see if I can find out a little bit more about his history. I think they put out a little bit of a release here on him. And, yeah, he's a new head football coach there, and also what they call the football program director and head football coach at Ben Lippin. He comes to Ben Lippin. He just finished his third season at AC Flora. The team was 28-4 during his tenure as defensive coordinator. And so now he moves across town to be the head coach. Hey, he was part of an outstanding coaching staff there at AC Flora. And you know what happens when you succeed like that? People pick apart your coaching staff. Head coach there has gone up to Dorman, and now he's headed over to Ben Lippin after being the defensive coordinator there. All right, so that's another job that has been filled here in our state. The Midlands area is now home, if you go by rankings, if you believe in rankings, and some of you do. The Midlands is now home to the number one prospect in college basketball in the 23 class, according to Rivals. Greg Jackson, G.G. Jackson of Ridgeview, has been elevated to the number one prospect in South Carolina in the 23 class by that recruiting network. 6'9" player. He's very, very good. He's on the radar, of course, of all the big boys, on the radar of South Carolina. Clemson not involved with him. He's supposed to take an official visit to South Carolina next weekend. And we'll see if that comes off. But Duke and North Carolina making the hard press on him, and that is hard to ignore if you're a player of that caliber. That means the state of South Carolina has the top boys player in 2023 and has the top girls player in 2024, and that is Joyce Edwards out of Camden. The ESPN's Hoop Girls have her ranked number 1 in the class of 2024. So that's great. State's producing some great young talent. Glad to see it whenever we've got that going on here in the state of South Carolina. I got a pretty good feeling that USC, the women, will have a good chance at keeping Jackson at home. I don't have a good feeling that USC, the men, will have a good chance at keeping Jackson, the boys player, at home. Did I misspeak about the I got to go back here and look that up. Got to go back and look up what I was just talking about the girl. I do think the USC women will have a good chance keeping her at home. I don't think the USC men are going to have a real good chance of keeping G.G. Jackson at home because of the push by your blue bloods, Duke and North Carolina. Edwards, Joyce Edwards, I think the South Carolina women certainly have a good chance to keep her at home. All right, let's see what else we've got going on in our notes from Wofford. Wofford football coach Josh Conklin has announced that Darius Dobson and Corey Woods have joined the coaching staff to complete the staff for the 22 season. Dobson will coach the running backs, and Woods will coach the tight ends. Dodson has spent the past several seasons on the coaching staff at North Carolina Central, and Woods spent 4 seasons on the coaching staff at Limestone, most recently as offensive coordinator and offensive line coach. All right, so they're set to go. We mentioned again South Carolina's spring game will be at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock on April the 16th. Part of what they're calling Big Gamecock Weekend. Now, look, I give them credit. Give them credit for trying some things and coming up with some fresh ideas and trying to ride the enthusiasm that has been built behind what Shane Beamer did in year number 1. Trying to capitalize on that, ride those emotions right now for Beamer and for South Carolina by doing everything you can to promote. And South Carolina's been doing a heck of a job trying to promote everything, not just in football, but all around this athletics program. And so this big weekend, this big Gamecock weekend, will be part of a weekend that includes a number of different sporting events. I mentioned the baseball team. On that Saturday, will be finishing up a 3-game series with Ole Miss, which, of course, Ole Miss has an excellent baseball team. Part of the deal for the Gamecocks on that Saturday, they're going to have a pregame concert by Patrick Davis over in the Gamecock Park Amphitheater from 5 to 6:30. They've also got beach volleyball against Georgia State and the College of Charleston. They've got men's tennis against Texas A&M. Has anybody noticed how good the USC men's tennis team is this year? They are really, really good. Also going to have a 5K race, the Cocky Trot, over at Gamecock Park and surrounding areas, so that's a great idea. There's going to be the Gamecock Invitational Track and Field meets and beach volleyball against Florida Gulf Coast and Coastal Carolina on Saturday. So they got beach volleyball apparently on Friday and Saturday. So it's a full weekend of sporting events over at South Carolina for that big Gamecock weekend. So that's all good. That's good for the fans, and we'll see what kind of attendance it results in for the football team. I don't know if it's going to help or hinder getting recruits in for a night game. Probably not going to hurt that much. I would imagine that for recruits that are coming from way out of town, they would be staying the night anyway, making it a recruiting weekend for them. Just a little different spin on things for South Carolina with the spring game, and why not try something a little bit different, something you think that your fan base will react to in a positive manner. All right, there you go with some of our notes tonight, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union, Founders Federal Notebook here on Sports Talk. Don't forget, you can get a mortgage note for as low as 2.33% right now at Founders Federal. Grab it before it starts to climb up. Those rates are going to start climbing here pretty soon. Let's jump to the phones before we hit our break. 888-898-2525. Brian in Lexington, you're up first with us tonight. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
Hey, Phil, how you doing? You were talking about the boys and girls high school basketball. There's a kid at Lexington. He's a sophomore, Cam Scott. I want to say he's like the number 11 kid in the country for his class. So I'm sure that puts him at the top of South Carolina for the class of 24.
Oh, I would say so, yeah. I've heard a lot about him, too. He's about a 6'4", 6'5" guard. And, again, you've got Clemson involved, South Carolina involved. He went down to Florida State last weekend. North Carolina and Duke have been in to see him play and practice. So that's going to be another one that you'd love to keep in the state of South Carolina if you can. I don't know what the formula is to keep these highly rated basketball players in the state. You know, what do you have to do to show them the love and that you can really make something of yourself in the state? It works for football players. Football players in the state seem to be more likely to choose one of the in-state schools versus the basketball players.
Hey, we actually lost our caller, Corn. I'm not sure what happened there, but he seemed to drop out. Not sure he liked your answer.
What did I say? I agree with
I'm just teasing.
It's called he hung up. That's probably what happened. He hung up. Hung up and listen. I'll hang up and listen. Well, we thank you for calling in and bringing that up. Yeah. We've had a nice run of high school basketball talent in our state. Some have left the state, of course, but at least they started out in South Carolina, and some are staying, and some are certainly emerging as national elite players. And he mentioned the Cam Scott kid out of Lexington. That's certainly one, and G.G. Jackson obviously is another one. All right, let's go to our break, and we'll come back with more. Lines are open if you want to join us. Love to hear from you. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. We're at Little John. It's Clemson and Duke coming up a little bit after 8 o'clock tonight. Players from both teams have been on the court and getting in some warm-up action here for the last little bit. And as I mentioned, a lot of Clemson students already in place waiting on this one. Should have a good crowd here tonight as well, and we'll be back.
There was just a lack of Black women, business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives. Growing up, I didn't see that. I figured out that I wanted to be a photographer for women of color. I found my niche and I'm sticking to it.
Each year, the South Carolina Education Lottery raises millions of dollars for scholarships and grants that help students prepare for their dream career, just like Kristen. Your passion is our purpose.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Relax on and off the field with Founders Federal Credit Union. With services like Founders Online and the Founders app, you'll enjoy all the perks of a big bank with local personalized service. If you're looking for low rates, look to Founders. Not a member? Joining Founders Federal Credit Union is easy. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our more than 30 office locations to see if you qualify for membership. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR. Of course, South Carolina is great for the hunters, Major. What do the hunters need to remember before they get out in the fields?
It seems like every other show we're talking about hunting safety of some sort. One thing we want hunters in this state to remember is always identify your target and what lies beyond it. Make sure before you pull that trigger that you know what you're looking at. Whether it's a turkey during turkey season or a deer during deer season, you know your identifying features of your game. You know what's beyond that target in case you miss.
Learn more about the great outdoors in South Carolina with Major Billy Downer on SC Wild here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Sports fans, are you in it to win it? Join South Carolina's fight against COVID-19 by getting your vaccine today. Vaccines are safe and will help stabilize school operations by bringing us back together safely. The CDC recommends everyone 5 years and older get vaccinated. Visit scdhec.gov/VaxLocator or call 866-365-8110 to find a vaccination station near you.
Save like a pro with Founders Federal Credit Union. Founders Loyalty Select account gives you the opportunity to grow your savings at our best rate yet. Fund your account through your favorite Loyalty Select product to get savings today. Not a member yet? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our more than 30 office locations to see if you qualify for membership. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
I was just talking to Steve Wiseman, the outstanding reporter from North Carolina who covers Duke. He's the beat writer for the Blue Devils, been on the beat for years, used to be in Columbia, the state newspaper, and a good friend of ours, and always great seeing him. And he answered my question. It's been sort of hit and miss. Some places have honored Kay before the game and some haven't. He said Louisville went to great extreme, gave him a Louisville Slugger, gave him some bourbon. Was it Woodford Select? Gave him some bourbon. Obviously, North Carolina did nothing, except they did have a picture made with Kay and Shire and Roy Williams and Hubert Davis. They took a picture and they put it up on the big screen inside the arena. But that was the only acknowledgement by North Carolina outside of the profanity from the fans as he came walking out of the locker room. Here, we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Apparently, it's just sort of a game-by-game deal and up to each individual team about what they might do. My money's on Clemson doing something. Knowing Clemson, that's where my money is. I think that they will – I'll be surprised if they don't do something to acknowledge over the PA system and maybe Brad Brownell presenting Krzyzewski with something prior to the game tonight. All right, back to the phones we go. 888-898-2525, the number. We go to Rodney in Charleston. Rodney, good to have you with us. Welcome into Sports Talk.
Good evening, Phil. And I can't remember. I think the person over there in Coastal
Pat.
Carolina area.
Oh, Chris. Yeah. That's Chris.
Right. Pat, of course, is there on the board making everything operate.
Yes.
Wanted to get in real quick in regards to the upcoming Super Bowl. I grew up being a Rams fan, and I was trying to figure out the way how this matchup is kind of a hybrid of how the Rams have been in the past. When they were in St. Louis, they end up running in a situation where They made it to the Super Bowl similar to how Cincinnati was, where the year before they had only won 3 or 4 games, and Dick Vermeil got them there. But when they played the Titans, I can't remember exactly how good Air McNair and them were, but I know they made it. So they, of course, were up near the top, but it was a drag out, and lost the game there on that stretch out and the defensive play. But in this game, to me, the defense could be similar to how the Seahawks were against Peyton Manning, where from the beginning they could be all over them, but at the same time, the coach was Coach Fox, so he's more a defensive-oriented guy. The head coach for the Bengals this time is a offensive guy, so he has weapons. So to me, it's the first part of the game is going to dictate, I think, how the game will be. The Rams hopefully are going to jump out on them and try to win the game, but any underdog, you let them stay in the game, you're asking for trouble come the fourth quarter. So,
well,
of course, I wanted to go ahead.
I'm gonna sum it up for you succinctly. I think the Rams are going to blow them out. And I think Burrow is susceptible to the sack. His offensive line's giving up a lot of sacks. And I think the Rams are going to be dialed in, and you're going to see look, they're a great defensive front to begin with. I think you're going to see a lot of pressure on him. I think you're going to see them get to him, not necessarily rattle him. I think he's past the stage of being rattled. But I think they're going to get to him and hit him a lot and sack him. I think he's going to throw some picks because he's going to use that bravado of his and try and thread the needle and force some passes. I think you'll see some picks. They're going to make some catches. I mean, his receivers are going to make some catches, no question about it. But I think you're going to see some picks. Offensively, I think Matthew Stafford's going to be – he's the more veteran guy. He sees us as his major moment after all those years with the Lions. He sees this as his golden moment. I think he's going to seize it. I think he'll play a very smart game. I think you'll see the Rams run the ball effectively against the Bengals and set up Stafford for his play-action passes deep down the field, taking some shots, some big hits there. So I'm looking at the Rams to win. I don't think it's going to be that close. I think it'll be well beyond the spread. I would probably pick the Rams. I mean, NFL, you don't usually pick blowouts because the games are usually close. But I would. I would pick the Rams by about 10 points in this one. I see this as about a 10-point spread in favor of the Rams.
Right. So it makes sense. I just know Kansas City had them almost dead to rights, and they let their foot up off them, and, they were that way. So hopefully if they get the lead, they don't do like they did with Tampa Bay. Of course, you're talking about, Tom Brady, but to me, it's just a matter of keeping your foot on them and, put them out in misery. But, of course, I have to mention Bulldog ties. Stafford is a Bulldog. He's just over on the Georgia border. But
not exactly the same Bulldog.
Oh, yeah, but 2 Bulldogs have won championships. We did, as far as FCS level, you had Georgia FBS level, so why not the pros have a Bulldog winning as well?
Why not? You know what? And thank you. That's another thing to think about. I have to say this. Anything connected to the state of Georgia is golden this year, starting with the Braves. Braves win the World Series. Georgia wins the football national championship. You got a former Georgia quarterback, one of the Super Bowl teams. What other connections do we have? I'm sure there are others. But anyway, that's enough right there. It's been a golden year for the sports fans in the state of Georgia. And by attachment, Stafford kind of gives them that as well. So, and we'll see what happens. But that's the way I see it. I see it at about a 10-point spread for the Rams. Pat, what do you see?
Oh, man, as somebody that's pulled for Clemson for so long, I still have nightmares of that national championship against LSU. So I have a hard time pulling against Burrow, but I'm with you. That defensive line is a juggernaut for the Rams. I think it's going to be a lot closer than you think, though, but I put the Rams with a last-second field goal to win.
Okay. Well, we shall see. most Super Bowls are usually pretty close. But, this might be close until the end. We'll see. Top of the hour break. Mike Morgan coming up.
Supposed to happen here. Thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Democrat Senator Joe Manchin is again raising concerns about his party's plans to spend trillions of dollars amid soaring inflation. Bob Agnew reports.
After the Labor Department reported annual inflation hit the highest rate last year since 1982, Manchin again warned his party against adding what he called more fuel to an economy already on fire. Manchin alluding to his own party's push for trillions in new spending, much of it on so-called human infrastructure, or what Republicans have labeled a liberal wish list. Manchin was instrumental in stopping his party from pushing through the Build Back Better bill last year, but Democrats are now hoping to pass much of the spending in smaller packages designed to skirt GOP opposition. Bob Agnew reporting.
More troop buildups by Russia along its border with Ukraine are stoking fears of an invasion. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says the alliance is stepping up its military deployments to bolster the eastern flank in light of Russia's troop buildup and military drill.
The number of Russian forces is going up. The warning time for a possible attack is going down. NATO is not a threat to Russia, but we must be prepared for the worst, while remaining strongly committed to finding a political solution.
British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss warned Russia on Thursday that attacking its neighbor would have massive consequences and carry severe costs. She urged Russia to abide by its international agreements that committed to respecting Ukraine's independence and sovereignty. Across the table from Truss, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov set a stern tone for the talks, emphasizing that Moscow will not accept Western lecturing. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 526 points, the Nasdaq dropped 304, the S&P 500 lower by 83. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Tell me why Relief Factor is so successful in lowering or eliminating pain. I'm often asked that question. Pete and Seth Talbot, the father and son founders of Relief Factor, tell me they believe our bodies were designed to heal. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, 100% drug-free ingredients that each help your body deal with inflammation. Order the 3-week quick start now. Discount it to only $19.95 to see if it will work for you too. Call 800-500-8384. ReliefFactor.com.
How long does it take to tackle a home project? With Angie, you could cross it off your list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need, indoor or outdoor, repair or redesign, and we handle the rest, sending a top pro to get it done. You don't have to lift a finger, except to tap the screen or click the mouse. Plus, Angie is free to use. So bring us your next home project, and we'll bring it home. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.
Baseball spring training remains on hold.
It means a possible delay of the start of the season because of the owner's lockout. But Commissioner Rob Manfred is optimistic.
We understand where the calendar is, but until we have that conversation and until we see how this session on Saturday goes, it's no change.
That meeting will be just the 5th economic bargaining session since the 5-year labor contract expired.
I see missing games as a disastrous outcome for this industry, and we're committed to making an agreement in an effort to avoid that.
Manfred says you're always one breakthrough away from making an agreement.
What seemed like a big gap on this topic or that topic isn't such a big gap anymore.
The sides disagree on minimum salaries and luxury tax thresholds. I'm Ed Donahue.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool this evening, a low dropping to 38. Now, if you like today, you'll love tomorrow. Sunny skies, a high temp all the way up to 71. Saturday, we get some clouds and sunshine mixed, the high is 72. The cold front arrives for Sunday. We'll get a high of 56 to go with mostly cloudy skies, a slight 20% chance of rain. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Back we are. It is Sports Talk on this Thursday night. Phil Kornblut up at Little John. Clemson and Duke about an hour away from tipping off. Both teams looking to come back from close, disappointing losses at home the other night. Clemson to North Carolina and Duke at home to the Virginia Cavaliers. We'll talk more about this game coming up. Update some other games as they get underway as well. But right now, it's time for our visit with Mike Morgan. Morgan on the move here on Sports Talk. Mike, of course, busy with college basketball calls around the SEC, getting ready for the college baseball season, which commences a week from tomorrow. Also keeping an eye on spring football, as that'll be getting underway in some areas in the next few weeks. And Mike also keeping an eye on that SEC money, $54.6 million handed out to the individual schools today by the good folks in Birmingham. Mike, first of all, good to have you with us. Do they use big? Do they use $100 bills, $1,000 bills? How do they distribute that cash to the individual schools? Small bills, big bills, mix of bills. How do they do it?
I think you could break it down however you want to break it down. You know, some people when you go to the ATM, they want hundreds. They want to look like they're big ballers, and others like give me that in 20s. A little more conservative. Basically the SEC and Big Ten could get advice from each other because the Big Ten's about to break the bank in their next TV deal in the next year or so. I don't think anybody's going to be able to compete with those two leagues financially anytime in the near future. I mean, in a lot of ways, they run college football. It's a better product when you have everybody else involved and relevant, which is why I want an expanded playoff. But make no mistake about it. I mean, those two conferences lead the way in so many categories.
Yeah, for sure. And, of course, the sidebar today, or maybe the main story, the money might have been the sidebar, but the Brian Harsin drama moved to Birmingham today, and the media was waiting on the coaches to arrive, and they were keeping an eye on the two entrances into the SEC office building there in downtown Birmingham, and Harsin, goes in one of the side entrances. Okay, that's fine and dandy. Apparently doesn't talk to the media when it's over. Had a meeting yesterday with the Auburn people upon his return from his vacation. He met with the so-called investigators there. I mean, seriously, Mike, have you ever seen a more poorly run operation than what we're seeing right now at Auburn? We've seen a lot of dumb, silly, stupid stuff over our time in watching college sports, but this has got to rank near the top.
Tennessee on line 2.
Oh, yeah. They're not to be outdone, but at least that was a search. At least that was a search that they kind of blew up. I mean, this is a sitting coach.
Bobby Petrino on line 3.
Okay.
No, I mean, all we need now is a neck brace and a motorcycle, right? It's Auburn is the gift that keeps on giving. I think I might have said that on your show a week ago under different circumstances, but They just are. It's one of those things where it seems like there's a story like this to come out of the play. And I realize this has more titillating details with it, but no, I mean, I can't help but think if Auburn was coming off a 10-win season, then all this other stuff would be just on the side. Mm-hmm. But they went 6-7. They finished poorly. Coordinators are out the door. I don't know what direction the program has. I don't know what direction they're going in, and I don't think many of the Auburn people know that. What's funny, and we were doing the podcast today. By the way, JC and Morgan, we drop tomorrow. Tim Brando is joining us.
Nice free plug. Anything else you want a free plug for in your life before we move on?
I'll be hosting on Sirius XM, SEC Radio, tomorrow morning from 8 to 11 with Chris Doring, channel 374. But no, I mean, if you remember when the hires were made, right, we had 4 coaches hired in the SEC.
Right.
If you remember, people were celebrating the Brian Harsin hire, and they were really cynical of the Shane Beamer hire. How would you like to switch those two around right about now? Mm-hmm. I mean, Shane Beamer just had one of the best years of any first-year coach, and Brian Harsin could be out after 1 year in a cloud of controversy. So it just goes to show you never know. You never know. But the hire to me was always a little bit of a head scratcher. I mean, I get it. He won a lot of games at Boise State, but he didn't exactly create success at Boise State that had already been done. No ties to the league, no ties to the region, and yet after they landed on him, it was kind of disseminated among the ranks that this is a brilliant hire. And I'm not saying it was good or bad. My philosophy is most of these things are a crapshoot. But I didn't understand why people were convinced he was going to do a great job.
You have to wonder, too, about the future of the AD, because as we all know, ADs in the SEC are tied to their football coaches. And if they're this disgruntled over Harsin and wondering why he was hired to begin with, their AD there, Green, has got to be also feeling the heat, too.
Well, but I'll take up for Alan Green here. First off, every AD makes a bad hire, too. You find me an AD that's been around more than a few years, and I'll point to a hire that didn't go right. Jeremy Foley, the longtime Florida AD, used to say, the best you can hope for is to be 50% right. That's the best. Mm-hmm. Because more often than not, these things don't go as well as planned. And remember now, certain parts of that fan base insisted on Gus Malzahn being gone. I don't know if Alan Green was going to make that move on his own, but there was a lot of political pressure, despite the fact that Gus won 69% of his SEC games, despite the fact that he beat Nick Saban more than anybody else was beating Nick Saban. They can him. And then who do they want? Kevin Steele? Like, that would have been the most uninspiring hire in the SEC in a long time. And finally they said, no, Alan, you get to make the call. We're not going to let this booster or that booster tell you who you can and cannot hire. And by that point in time, you're going with the guys who, it's a bit of a crapshoot. You don't just get whoever you want. So, look, if it doesn't work out, obviously it'll count as a miss. But that doesn't mean he's a bad AD. ADs, they go with the best information they have. They make the best decision they can with the resources that they have. And you're going to get rejected. Every one of these SEC schools over the last 8 hires in the last 2 years, they've all been turned down by somebody, every one of them. So Auburn's no different. Alan Green's no different, but I don't think he deserves to be fired over it.
Talking with Mike Morgan. Morgan on the move here on Sports Talk. Well, and last thing we'll talk about Harsin, then we'll move on. Stories coming out today in Alabama media citing his history at Arkansas State and citing his history at Boise State, and they weren't flattering stories. I mean, they're laying the groundwork for a dismissal, and, of course, many of the media there are calling for a dismissal. And you're right. Maybe if he'd had a great year, beat Alabama and all that, you wouldn't be having this conversation. But they had the season that they had. They finished the way they did, and this is kind of where he is now. So It certainly looks like it. Where do they go from here? I mean, it's flipping mid-February. You've got a recruiting class already in place. You're going to promote from within, I guess, an interim head coach. I mean, do you go find somebody like, I hate to say it, I don't want to say it, it'll burn my lips to say it, but I mean, do you look at an Urban Meyer? Do you look for somebody like that to come in and kind of be the knight in his case, not so shining armor, but he is a knight.
Yeah, he's a knight of a different kind. I don't think. Look, if Urban's smart, he just stays away. The temptress that is coaching college football, even though he always appears to be so miserable doing it, just stay away. And I don't think you want to follow up one controversy with a guy that's been surrounded by controversy here of late. So no, I don't think it's Urban. I don't think you get a big name at this point. At least not one that's hot. I mean, I think you have to go back to the well and you look for mid-major coaches that have had success, or you go for coordinators of Power 5 that have had success, and any of them will gladly take a huge pay raise from Auburn. But it's going to be a gamble because there's certainly no slam dunk hires out there right now.
All right, as far as SEC basketball goes this week, going back to last weekend and through this week, of course, we saw Kentucky handle South Carolina. The Gamecocks put up a good fight, and they were right there with about 15 minutes to go, and then they turned it over, and Kentucky made some baskets, and they pulled away, and their bigs were too athletic for the Gamecocks. And Frank Martin was not at all happy with the play of his defense against Kentucky the entire game. So they lose, and it's been a tough run here for the Gamecocks. Now they go to Georgia Saturday in what's really a must-win situation for both of these teams, maybe more for South Carolina because I think Georgia's too far out of it. But what do you see for South Carolina's immediate future here? They've got 7 games to go. They're starting to sink again. Can they save themselves with some wins over some equal teams, or maybe the best 2 teams left on their schedule, I would say, are Mississippi State and LSU?
Yeah, I got to tell you, I was watching some of the game, and the sideline reporter said, well, if they run the table and then they win 2 in the SEC tournament, then they got a chance. It's like this team's struggling to win 2 in a row. What's the chances they rattle off like 8 straight? That's a bit of a tall order. I think it's a good news, bad news, right? So you look at that schedule, you say the good news, there's a lot of winnable games left on that schedule. Like, you're playing a lot of games against the bottom third of the league. And South Carolina certainly can win those games. The bad news is you're in desperation mode to pick up quality wins. You can't just beat the bottom third of the league and then get smoked by everybody in the upper half and then, have enough metrics to get in the NCAA tournament. So I don't – there's only one way to do it in this case. You do have to win a bunch of games, and then you have to have an incredible run in Tampa for the SEC tournament. But, honestly, I don't even know if you're talking about that in the locker room right now. You're just trying to get things right, trying to continue to get better. Look, I thought they played hard against Kentucky. I don't think it's an effort problem. I mean, last year was just there was nothing to like about that team. This year they play hard. At times you see some things in spurts that you like. But you're overmatched, and clearly against teams like Kentucky and Tennessee, and maybe if they played Arkansas right now, Auburn. Those are just teams right now at a different level.
I'm at Clemson, Littlejohn for Clemson Duke. Clemson lost a heartbreaker to North Carolina the other night. Had a chance to win that game, came up short defensively at the end, came up short offensively. Of course, Duke coming off the big win over the Tar Heels. Then they drop a close one at home against Virginia. Never a good time to catch Duke off a loss. What do you think about this one tonight? Clemson, Duke, again, and Brownell, similar to Frank Martin, once again in a situation where they're going to direct their team out of the NCAA tournament, and it looks even worse for the Tigers because their record is really not good at this point.
Right, and the ACC is not as strong as the SEC this particular year. Look, we could make a similar analogy to what you saw Tuesday night, right? You've got one team in Duke that's a potential Final Four team, much like Kentucky, and you've got another team just struggling to find their way. I think it's almost a carbon copy of the game you covered on Tuesday. So you could just switch the names of the teams and basically have the same analysis of the matchup. In fact, I encourage you to do that. Go ahead and just change the names. Tell everybody you're actually at the Colonial Life Arena tonight. And, and, just go from there and just play weird games. Have fun tonight.
What about Arkansas beating Auburn the way they did not blink against that great Auburn team? Fans storm the court. They don't care. They'll pay the fine. But this Arkansas team all of a sudden has won 10 in a row, and somebody's got to be dealt with.
Yeah, they're really good. I mean, look, I've told you before, Auburn and Kentucky are in a class of their own in the SEC. In that Tier 2, Arkansas and Tennessee are both very good. Those four teams clearly right now are cut above the rest in the Southeastern Conference, and the SEC is likely going to get 6 or 7 bids. But those four, they can all go deep in the tournament, and they're all going to be a headache to play the rest of the way. I can't say enough about the job Coach Musselman has done. Remember, they started 0-3 in the SEC, 0-3, and they lost the SEC Player of the Year in Moses Moody. I mean, they lost a lot of talent. But when you're building a program, I had Alabama last night. It's the same thing with Nate Oates. These guys come in, and in 3 years, they didn't just build good teams. They built a program. They're not looking to just have 1 year of success. They're building a program where they expect to be in the tournament every year, just like that's what Bruce Pearl built at Auburn. So it can be done, and it's been happening at a number of SEC schools that were not having great success for a while, and all of a sudden they hired the right coach, and they've been consistently good and consistently in the postseason.
What do you have this weekend?
I've got Ole Miss, Missouri, and again, those are two teams that they're struggling for different reasons. Ole Miss is struggling because they've had a ton of injuries, although Jarkel Joyner is back, and I think Kermit Davis has done a heck of a job considering all that he's had to go through. Missouri is just struggling because they haven't had a ton of injuries, but they're just, again, at times they struggle to score. They don't shoot the three well. I love Konzo Martin. I just don't know if he's got the team that can do a whole lot of damage this year.
Okay, Mike, start getting ready for baseball, too. The SEC's announced the television baseball schedule. I mean, every game is televised in some form or another, either over live television or stream. So I know you'll be busy with that. Look forward to talking about that coming up because the baseball season begins a week from tomorrow. Thank you very much, sir. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, you too. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Mike Morgan. Morgan on the move here on Sports Talk. I'd like to say exclusively on Sports Talk, but that would be a lie because Mike's everywhere. Any show he can get on, any podcast he can get on, any television screen he can get on. That's why we call him Morgan on the move, because he's everywhere. Okay. Hey, they put the Clemson softball game on the big screen here at Little John. I guess the Tigers are playing Florida Gulf Coast. I don't know if that's here or somewhere else, but give you an update. Clemson is leading Florida Gulf Coast 1-0 in exciting college softball action. And we'll be back.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit PlayResponsiblySC.com.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity. And members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives. And as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Thanks again to Mike Morgan for being with us here tonight on Sports Talk, sharing his thoughts with us about a variety of subjects. Got time for some calls before Chad Holbrook joins us at the bottom of the hour. We go to Stephen in Columbia. Next up here on Sports Talk. Stephen, welcome in. How are you?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Well, we're up here at Little John just watching the Duke Blue Devils run onto the court to a series of boos from those Clemson fans.
I hear that, man. I just wanted to talk about your pick for the Super Bowl. I think you're sleeping on Cincinnati, man. They went down to Nashville, got up on the Titans, and then came to Missouri. And Mahomes was playing at his best, and they went and beat him. Mm-hmm. So I mean, Mahomes could have clearly went all the way and won the Super Bowl. So I'm saying, like, if the Chiefs could team and beat the Rams, then why couldn't the Cincinnati Bengals, you know?
Right. Listen, you're right. I mean, anything can happen. I just look at the personnel, and I look at how these teams will match up, and I just look at an edge for the Rams in a couple of different areas. Oh, look, I could be totally wrong. I'm no expert on picking these games. Believe me, I finished near the bottom of our picking contest. So don't call Vegas based on me, okay? I'm just telling you my gut instinct and what I'm thinking. To be honest with you, though, I just think that the key thing for me here, and this is fact, is I don't know how many times Burrow's been sacked this season, or for that matter, just in the playoffs, but I know it's a lot. And I know his offensive line has had issues protecting him. Yeah. And this is one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. I'd be concerned.
You're not wrong.
If they had played the Packers in the NFC Championship game, which should have happened, I mean, I would have been worried about the Packers protecting Rodgers because they're that good. But I see that as being a major function of this game on Sunday, and I don't think the Bengals are going to be able to overcome that. Now, look, he may stand in the pocket, take a hit, and throw a couple of bombs, and, you know, T. Higgins might have a huge game, or what's his name? Chase might have a huge game.
Chase Young?
No.
Jamar Chase.
Yeah, Jamar. Yeah, the receiver Chase. Yeah, the receiver Chase.
Jamar Chase.
Right. You know, they could have huge games. But I also foresee some interceptions. I also foresee a number of sacks. I see it going more that way in favor of the Rams here. And I think offensively the Rams are certainly good enough with their running game and with Matthew Stafford to move the ball against these guys. So, and Kopp, you know, Kopp might be the big X factor in all of this because nobody has covered him. And what makes you think anybody from the Bengals is going to be able to cover him?
Sarah, I just think that it's the next man up with the Bengals. They hit Jamar Chase hard last game. Double team. They went right to Higgins. He took the ball. The game 17 down. They came back, won against Mahomes. I'm like, at this point, the Bengals are unstoppable because, I mean, 2 away games, they went and beat probably some of the best teams, I think.
Yes, you're right. That says something about their leadership, their coaching, their backbone. I give you all that. Still, I think that is there a home field advantage here maybe in play because they are playing in the Rams' home stadium?
Yeah.
You know, was there any home field advantage for the Bucs last year playing at their home stadium? You know, I mean the comfort levels there. I don't think. Will it be a big difference in the fans? Maybe so. Maybe there'll be more Rams fans there that'll make some kind of a difference. But I just think the Rams are the overall better team. That's just my bottom line assessment. I think they're the overall better team.
I think it'll be better than 10, though. I think it'll be better than 10.
What do you see the final score? Give me your final score.
I will flip the Vegas odds, and I'll go 3 up on Cincinnati. So instead of the Rams winning by 3, I think Cincinnati will win by 3.
Cincinnati by a field goal. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate your phone call. We shall see about that. I still think the Rams are the better team. The Rams are going to carry the day on Sunday. And I think it'll be about a 10-point spread. You call me back on Monday. If I'm right, you call me and admit it. And if you're right, I'll never admit it. But if I'm right, I'll be the first one to say I was right.
And Corn,
Joe
Burrow was sacked 51 times this season.
Yeah, bingo.
Quite a few.
Bingo, bango. If you can look up how many times Stafford was sacked, let me know that as well. But 51 times, that's a lot of hits on a quarterback. Speaking of hits, what kind of hitters will the College of Charleston have this year? We'll find out coming up.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool this evening, a low dropping to 38. Now, if you like today, you'll love tomorrow. Sunny skies, a high temp all the way up to 71. Saturday, we get some clouds and sunshine mixed. The high is 72. The cold front arrives for Sunday. We'll get a high of 56 to go with mostly cloudy skies, a slight 20% chance of rain. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Imagine a hot, fresh pizza just the way you love.
Oh, baby. At Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers, we're all about the love.
Our pizzas start with hand-tossed spring water dough. We then add the freshest toppings and bake it all
with love, baby.
Salads, hoagies, and beer from around the world, too. Come enjoy the taste you love at the Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
With love.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting a fighter jet operated by a military contractor crashed west of Phoenix, but the pilot ejected safely and no one on the ground was apparently hurt. A spokesman for the contractor said the French-made Mirage F1 crashed near Buckeye on Thursday. The community is about 30 miles west of Phoenix and was mainly farms until recent decades when housing developments began growing. John Rupp of Airborne Technical Advantage Company confirmed it was one of his company's jets that went down. Rupp says the pilot was taken to a hospital for evaluation and treatment of minor injuries. Officials at Luke Air Force Base in nearby Glendale also confirmed the crash and said the jet was operating out of the base. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 526 points. The Nasdaq dropped 304. The S&P 500 lower by 83. And oil up to $89.88 a barrel. This is SRN News.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hey Taylor, the new year's here.
And the calendar is filling up fast.
The Southeastern Wildlife Expo comes to Charleston in February.
If you like fine art, good food, and dogs, this one's for you. Then the Bassmaster Classic is here the first weekend in March.
55 anglers will fish on Lake Hartwell while the Classic Expo and weigh-ins will be in Greenville.
The Palmetto Sportsman's Classic at the end of March and the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds in April are also events you do not want to miss.
That's a start, but there's more. So tune in to Woods and Water, South Carolina every Saturday afternoon here on our home in the Midlands, 100.7 The Point.
Hey, it's Jay with the Melting Pot. So this is the time of year when we try to be responsible and plan out the next 12 months. I'm not good at it either, so let's work on this together. Go and grab your calendar, whether it's on your phone or on your refrigerator. Find your anniversary, your best friend's birthday, your kid's birthday, your spouse's birthday, graduation day, and write in Melting Pot. We're the premier special occasion restaurant in the Midlands, the Melting Pot.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Hey, Tiger fans, 2022 Clemson baseball season tickets are currently on sale. Coach Monty Lee and your Clemson Tiger baseball team open the season on February 18th, and you can be there for every game by purchasing your season tickets. Home series include matchups against Miami, Florida State, NC State, Georgia Tech, as well as our annual home games against South Carolina and Georgia, and many more. So log on to ClemsonTigers.com to purchase your Clemson baseball tickets and come back home to Clemson.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
We are back on Sports Talk here on this very busy Thursday night. Glad you're with us. We're up at Little John Coliseum. Clemson and Duke going to be getting underway in college basketball here in just a little bit. Got some other college basketball happening with some state teams. We'll update you on things in a little bit. Georgia State, for example, is up on Coastal Carolina right now, 30-19, late in the first half. Well, we are just 8 days away from the start of the college baseball season around the state of South Carolina. We continue to catch up with coaches as they are preparing their teams for the start of the upcoming 2022 season. We welcome in from the College of Charleston head coach Chad Holbrook for Sports Talk once again. Coach, always great having you on with us. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, Phil. Thanks for having me on. It's an exciting time of year for us baseball coaches.
Absolutely. I know you guys are fired up, excited about getting the season underway. Everybody's 0-0 right now, so feeling pretty good. How's your camp been? How would you say your guys have practiced to this point? What kind of team are you seeing?
I think we have a good team. I mean, we worked really hard this offseason to improve, what some things we needed to improve upon from last year's team. And, we got some good young players. We think we had a good recruiting class to add to our current roster. And, we're excited to get going. I think we've got a very good team, and we look forward to getting out on the field, and hopefully we can show that we're a very good team. We've got a very challenging schedule. Got some tough teams we have to play, but all in all, we've had a good camp. It's golf season, and we're ready to get started.
When you look at your team, kind of break it down piece by piece, and, of course, the Cougars, you guys have been known as big offensive teams over the years. Is this team going to match up with some of those good offensive teams? A lot of power. You see the ball flying out of the ballpark down there at Patriots Point?
I hope so. I think we do have some power, but I hope that's not the backbone of our team. I don't think you can have a really good baseball team year in and year out if the backbone of your team's not your pitching staff. And I think that's the strong point of our team this year. We returned our weekend rotation from a year ago, and we'll add one of the top pitching prospects in the country, not just state. We'll add one of the top pitching prospects in the country that'll be a weekend starter for us, and so I feel good about our pitching staff. I think we're going to be very formidable offensively. But if you had to ask me what I'm most excited about, I think it's the depth of our pitching staff.
Yeah, do you think this will be your best pitching staff since you've been there?
Yeah, I mean it's certainly the deepest, and I think that's one of the things that kind of has exposed us a few times, especially late in the years. We just weren't as deep as we needed to be, especially in the bullpen. And, we might have needed an extra starter or two. I think right now we're going to, the guy that started on the weekend last year for us, he's probably going to throw Tuesday or be in the bullpen for us this year. So that gives you an idea that we added some quality arms, and we think we increased the depth of our staff. And I think it has the makings to be a really good pitching staff.
So who were some of the guys in the pitching staff that you're that you're looking at? I know the all-CAA preseason team, you had Ty Good on there. I imagine he's the guy that you're talking about being one of your leaders there.
Well, yeah, Kyle pitch on Friday for us next week, and then on Saturday we'll throw, I guess the preseason freshman of the year, a kid named Daniel Brooks. Who Phil, you'll be down here. You'll be down here to see him. He's a potential first-round draft pick in a couple of years. He's very, very talented. He's got a really big upside. Got a great arm, and he's a local kid here from Charleston. He went to Bishop England High School, so he has a chance to be extremely special. So, with Ty and Daniel going on Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday we're trying to decide. We got a little competition going on this weekend with our last weekend of scrimmages, and we're not ready to pencil that Sunday guy in quite yet, but we feel good about the choices that we'll have to put there.
So we're talking with Chad Holbrook, baseball coach at the College of Charleston. You talk about the offense and maybe not wanting to rely so much on the home run ball, kind of spread that offense around a little bit. Do you have a lineup maybe of better spray hitters, guys who will hit better with two strikes, guys who won't strike out as much, maybe for going the long ball, for putting the ball in play and just making some contact?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. We love to have guys in the lineup that'll walk more than they strike out. Good plate approach guys, I think, is a great formula that play winning baseball. But we do have our middle of the lineup very strong. Tanner Steffi, our DH from Chapin, he's a preseason all-conference pick, and he's a fixture in the middle of our lineup. And Trotter Harlan he was the South Carolina High School State Player of the Year his senior year in high school, and he's factored to hit third, fourth, or fifth for us. And then we have another all-conference preseason pick and Jared Curvin, a catcher from Lexington. So those are three guys that we feel good about both offensively and defensively. But we've also added some recruits and some junior college guys to hit in the middle of our lineup. So, and at Patriots Point, some days you need to hit the long ball. The wind might be blowing out. And in other days you can't hit the ball out of the park if the wind's blowing in, and you have to find other ways to win. And I feel good that we got some speed, and we got, we can handle the bat a little bit and bunt and small ball it, steal some bases and that kind of thing. So hopefully we can beat you more ways than just one.
Did Chad Holbrook say the word bunt? Did you say bunt?
I don't know why y'all have a stereotype of the word bunt, but every now and again, it's a good play here and there, and I can remember that bunt. I can remember that bunt game in the 2010 national championship game that helped us win a national championship too. So every now and again, you have to pull it out of the, pull it out of the old bag, a trick out of the old bag, I guess I should say, and put the bunt on. And we've done that in Omaha, Nebraska before. I've seen it work there. So if it'll work there, it'll work at Patriots Point too.
Oh, no question about it. Visiting with Chad Holbrook, 27-25 last year. 12-12 in the league. So is this a team, in your opinion, based on what you said about your pitching, your overall offense, that can maybe take it up a notch and be a 38, 40 game winner and win about 18, 20 games in your league? Is this team capable?
Well, that's what we're shooting for, and that's what our goal is. Our goal is to win 40 games, and our goal is to finish in the top of our league. We want to win our league championship. We want to play in the NCAA tournament. And, I think we have the talent to do it. You got to go out there and play the game the right way. And you got to have some, bounces go your way as well, but stay healthy. But I think we have the talent to be a really, really good team. We got a really tough schedule. We play some big boys. Obviously, we got Clemson coming in, and we played Clemson a couple times. We played Texas this year, and I think East Carolina's a top 10 team this year, and they come to Patriots Point for 3 games. So we have a very challenging schedule, but I think we have the talent to compete with that schedule and hopefully finish at the top of our league.
I want to ask you, if you don't mind me venturing away from the Cougars for a moment, but 22 marks the 10-year anniversary of that last World Series team from USC that you were a part of, end of that 3-year run, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2 national championships and a runner-up. That's pretty much unprecedented in today's world of college baseball, with things being as evened out as it's become. Do you think back to those days pretty often? If so, what do you recall about your time with South Carolina and those 3 teams in particular?
Well, it was a special time. Every one of my years at South Carolina was special. The players were those teams in particular, the bond that those guys had with one another and still have to this day, from Michael Roth and Scott Wingo and Matt Price and Brady Thomas, Adrian Morales, Whit Merrifield, Jackie, Christian Walker. All those guys are still close today and hear from them, quite a bit. And it's just we were a team that year that was kind of an unbreakable and had an unbreakable bond. I'm kind of proud that bond still exists today, and we often reminisce about those times. And, in my office downstairs at my house, I have some big pictures of running home from third base to home plate to watch Scott Wingo score the winning run in the national championship game, and hold those guys dear. The memories are as vivid today as they were 10 years ago, and it was a special time for sure, and it's something I'll never forget, and I'll hold near and dear to my heart for a long, long, long time, forever. I'll hold it near and dear forever.
Yeah, and just how tough it is to get back to Omaha. I mean, Gamecock fans have gotten used to it, and they want to get back there. Clemson fans want to do the same thing, and both coaching staffs are doing everything they can. It's just tough. What about Scott Wingo back at South Carolina as an assistant coach? What do you think the future holds for him?
Scott's he's going to be a very good coach. I knew that when we were in the same dugout together, and actually, he helped me, a year there when I was the head coach of South Carolina as a student assistant. So he's got a bright future in the game, and he's great baseball mind, and obviously a great Gamecock, and will be held up in Gamecock lore forever with what he accomplished on the baseball field. And he's a joy to be around. I'm sure his players and his kids that he's coaching are holding, really enjoy being around him and learning from the experience that he had, not only in playing in Omaha, but also in professional baseball. And Scott Wingo's a treasure, and I wish him nothing but the best. I know he's going to be a darn good coach.
Yeah, a lot of fun to cover as a player, absolutely, for sure. Before we let you go, tell us about your sons and update us on what's happening with, I think the oldest one, right, is moving on to college baseball now coming up. Fill us in on what's happening with your boys.
Yeah, my oldest son is going to start his college career next Friday again, for North Carolina, and he's done well and had a good freshman year so far, and hopefully he can fight his way into getting a few opportunities as a freshman up there in Chapel Hill. And my other son, Cooper, is a senior in high school, and he's set to go play baseball at Vanderbilt next year. So I'm awfully blessed as a dad to be able to have two kids to go to some great institutions and play ball at great baseball programs for great coaches. And I'm gonna miss them. I'm not gonna be able to watch them play as much as I want to watch them play, but I know they're in good hands playing for great coaches and great programs.
Yeah, they might end up playing against you one day.
Well, yeah, and I wouldn't schedule. They both those coaches, those respective schools, I've talked about scheduling. That'd be awfully hard to coach against one of my own kids. But it's been done before if we do it, and I'm sure it'd be very difficult. But it's been done before. Old Coach Mike Bianco at Ole Miss, he coaches against his boy who's playing at LSU. So it happens in college baseball from time to time. It's just not something I'm looking forward to.
Oh, I know. I tell you what, between you and Jim Toman, you produce some pretty good baseball players.
Yeah, Coach Toman's a great baseball guy, and his two sons are outstanding as well. And Coach is a first-team All-American and heading to LSU if he doesn't get drafted in the first round, which that might happen too. So
yeah,
he's a great prospect, a great kid. And I was able to watch Tucker quite a bit, because he played with my son Reese at Hammond, and so it's been fun to watch him grow and take off. And Coach Toman and I, we spend a lot of time on the field with our two kids, and that's been one of the joys of being a father and being a baseball coach at the same time. Is we've been able to spend a lot of time on the field with our two boys, and I think we both loved it and made the most of it.
And, of course, we should mention, too, not the side story, but maybe the main story about your oldest son is the fact that he overcame a serious illness as a child to make it to this level of college baseball.
Yeah, and it's a neat story, I feel. I mean, he was diagnosed with cancer when he was 2 years old, and he's overcome a lot of obstacles. The chemotherapy damaged the nerves in his eyes, and he had trouble at a young age following moving objects. And if you can't follow a moving object, playing baseball is going to be a very, very difficult task. And we didn't really think, baseball was in the cards for him, but He worked really, really hard at it. His eyes and his body healed from the chemotherapy he took. And, and he went from getting cut, in middle school, not even don't make his middle school team, to being a scholarship athlete at one of the best baseball programs in the country. So we're awfully blessed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure having you on with us. Good luck this season. Look forward to following you. We'll have you back and hope to see a lot of wins for you down the road. Good luck.
Phil, thanks so much for including me on your show, and I look forward to getting back on there, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Coach. Take care now.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
man. Great story. Chad Holbrook, the Chad Holbrook family. Some sourness with the way things ended at South Carolina, but that's okay. He's picked things up. He's got a very competitive team at the College of Charleston. Sounds like he feels like he's got maybe his best team there with the Cougars, so we'll see what happens. And we thank him for being with us tonight. Duke has come back on the court to warm up. Clemson's about to come out of the locker room for its final shoot-around. By the way, Steve Wiseman tells me that Clemson will honor Krzyzewski with a PA announcement and a donation to the Emily Krzyzewski Center. That will come just before the anthem. The Emily K. Center is named for Krzyzewski's mother. It helps underserved students. Underserved. Helps underserved students in the Durham Public Schools. A little typo there. Underserved students in the Durham Public Schools. Yeah, I thought Clemson would do something. Sounds like they're going to before the anthem. We got to hit a break and get our final break in, and we'll come back and wrap it up in here at Little John. Update some scores. We can squeeze in a call or two here in the final stretch as well, so feel free to dial us up. 888-898-2525. And we got a recruiting story to share with you, too. We'll get to that after the break.
Sports fans, are you in it to win it? Join South Carolina's fight against COVID-19 by getting your vaccine today. Vaccines are safe and will help stabilize school operations by bringing us back together safely. The CDC recommends everyone 5 years and older get vaccinated. Visit scdhec.gov/VaxLocator or call 866-365-8110 to find a vaccination station near you. Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the SCHSL, are the 96,000 high school sports students in South Carolina. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, soccer, and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, administrators, and officials. We stand for the swimmers, football players, and wrestlers. We stand for the golfers, softball, and volleyball players. We stand as the national leader and advocate for high school athletics and all who participate in them and make them possible. Because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
Looks like we're going to have a big crowd here tonight for this one. The fans are sitting all the way to the top rows here. Now, if they fill in below, we'll have a packed house. Looks like that may be the case. There'll be a good number of Duke fans here. Don't know if they had a full house for that North Carolina game. Wasn't here for it. Looking at it on television, seeing some of the pictures, looked like I saw a bunch of empty seats for that game. This one might have a better crowd. The students have certainly turned out in a big way today after being here, some of them, for the women's game earlier. And let's give you a recruiting note brought to you by our friends at Seawells. Seawells will be closed tomorrow for a private event, so don't make plans. I know that kind of ruins your day if you can't get to Seawells. You can get to them all next week, Monday through Friday, 11 to 2, for their delicious daily luncheon buffet. But don't go out there tomorrow because they're closed for a private event. And, of course, the very best in the catering business, none other than our good friend at Seawells. Make sure you give them a call and use their services to make your event the best it can be. So our recruiting note tonight is on an offensive lineman that South Carolina offered, Trovon Baugh, 6'4", 305, out of Atlanta, Pace Academy. And he said to us that he'd been talking with USC offensive line coach Greg Atkins going back to September. And they had talked pretty regularly since September. And then Atkins got to him this week and told him about an offer. Said he was very excited about getting the offer. Bo can play, I should probably say Bow. Bow can play center or guard. And he said Atkins likes how he can move around on the offensive line, likes his athletic ability, his physical game. He's yet to visit USC, but he is aware of the Gamecocks' accomplishment last season, and he plans to see more next month. He's going to come in on March 19th for a visit. He has been to Wake Forest and Duke. He also plans to visit Georgia, Florida State, Ohio State, and Michigan State. He does not have a top group at this point, and he's looking for where he feels wanted and where he would be excited. He also has offers from Georgia Tech, Missouri, Liberty, Duke, Tulane, Purdue, Wake Forest, South Florida, Florida State, FAU, and Morgan State. He plans to announce on one of two dates, either his birthday on July 8th or his mother's birthday on September 12th. All right, there you go with the recruiting report for tonight. And Clemson now just making the announcement of the donation to the Emily K. Center. They just showed a shot of Krzyzewski on the court on the big screen. He waved to the Tigers to thank them for that. And we're about to have the national anthem. Pat, I feel like you need to step in here because I'll be talking while they're playing the national anthem, and that will be frowned upon. Would you like to step in for a moment and handle things while I go quiet for the national anthem? Go right ahead, sir.
All right, so a little more details on this matchup tonight between the Clemson Tigers and Duke Blue Devils. Keep in mind, the last two times these teams faced off, just a few short weeks ago, Duke was without one of their star freshmen, another one of those top 30 overall high school recruits in the country, Trevor Keels. He missed the game and is their third leading scorer at nearly 12 points a game. And if you mix that addition for the Blue Devils along with a subtraction of Hunter Tyson for the Tigers, they have quite a difficult task ahead of them tonight. But hopefully Clemson's able to ride the momentum of having, as Korn is telling us, a packed Little John. If you factor them in, maybe that'll give Clemson a good chance tonight. So that's just a little more detail. Also a note regarding College of Charleston baseball, just didn't want to jump into that interview a moment ago. Although the Cougars do not play the Gamecocks this year, so we will not see them actually come into Columbia, for fans of his in Columbia and Clemson fans, the Clemson versus College of Charleston game, originally scheduled to take place in Charleston on Tuesday, May the 10th, has actually been rescheduled and will be played in Columbia at Segra Park over at the Firefly Stadium over in the Bull Street District, and that is Tuesday, May the 10th at 7 o'clock. And then also kind of a more personal note here, but I'd like to give a shout out to Heathwood Hall's longtime athletic director and head men's basketball coach, Jeff Whalen, is actually coaching his final home game right now as we speak. It started tonight at about 7:15. I'm a little bummed I was not able to make it to it. They are playing Augusta Christian. Coach Whalen has a 352 and 244 overall record at Heathwood Hall over 23 seasons, including winning the 2011 state championship and with state finals appearances in 2010 and 2012. I had the pleasure of playing for him a few years before that. The furthest we made it was the state semifinals in 2003, but we did win our regional championship that season. And Jeff and his wife, Karen, have been very heavily involved both at Heathwood and just in the local community of Columbia, beyond just in sports. And they have 5 sons who all played for their dad and also went through Heathwood. And now it looks like Korn is ready to join us. Korn, are you okay now? National anthem finished with?
It's all good. It's all good. We've got the announcements of the starting lineup taking place. It looks like it's going to be a full house. I see more and more people walking down to their seats. Looks like it's going to be well filled in tonight for this game at Little John. Should be an exciting game. Let's give you an update on some other scores. At halftime, Georgia State is beating Coastal Carolina 32-21. At halftime, Longwood is leading Upstate 46-41. At halftime, Greensboro is on top of the Citadel 44-28. Second half, Appalachian State leading Georgia Southern 51-40. And that's all well, let me see. Let me scroll down and see if I have anything else from around the state. Because of my ongoing battle with my computer, I've lost all my settings for my in-state schools that would pop up immediately. Iowa is leading Maryland 57-41. And I guess that's it. I don't see anything else happening right now with any games or any in-state teams. So we're just focused on this game tonight between Clemson and Duke. A reminder, stay with us on our Twitter at SportsTalkSC. We'll be tweeting out stuff as the game plays out, and we'll have post-game coverage on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. Post-game comments from at least the Clemson side of things. If they bring Coach Krzyzewski in to the media room, we'll have that as well. Thank you, Pat. Great job. Thanks to Chris Bergen for earlier being with us, and thanks to all of you. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Someone will be right with you. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. President Biden took his efforts to limit the cost of prescription drugs to Culpeper, Virginia today.